Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, it's Friday, September 18th, and it is 9:16 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. It is cold here. We are supposed to get frost tonight, believe it or not. I am mourning the loss of winter, but aside from that, everything's good. So let's get into the news. And we do have a lot of news tonight. Now, I don't have anyone to mention in terms of coffee or Patreon or what have you. But I do want to mention, as I have in the past, that, and it's always in the description, that if you wish to support this channel, the best way to do it, although we do have Patreon as well, but Coffee is now accepting monthly donations. And the good thing with Coffee is they do not keep a penny. So it all goes to, whoever you're supporting, all of that money goes to them, every single penny. So that is the best way to do it if you wish to support the channel. Of course, there are lots of other ways to support us too. Prayer, or just watching. That's support. So anyway, let's get into the news now. And the first item tonight is the breaking news from NPR that Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away. She died today at the age of 87 from complications of cancer. In a statement dedicated to her granddaughter Clara Spira days before her death, she said, and I want to preface this by saying they're already going to start this narrative already. The woman is not even cold yet, and they're already beginning this narrative because they're saying that her granddaughter said that her greatest wish, my most fervent wish, is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed. Well, that would mean that if Donald Trump gets installed, that she wouldn't, get replaced for 4 years. And that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. So what they're hoping for is that Biden gets in and then is able to install a Supreme Court justice that is a liberal. I don't see that happening. I don't see Trump letting that happen. At least I hope not. But you can already tell what the narrative's going to be. The Democrats are going to jump in there and they're going to say, but it was her wish. It was her final wish. How can you go against this woman's last dying wish? I can hear it now. So I'm just warning you that that's what's coming. All right, well, let's move ahead now. And this says, time to wake up, America. And this is Kamala with Alexander Soros, son of George Soros. And this says Alexander Soros, son of George Soros, and Kamala Harris are pictured here after their final interview in Biden's VP vetting process. This was the moment, Soros said, when I decided she would be the pick. I told my dad and he agreed. The rest was just a formality. George Soros, through his son, is hand-picking our VP, our next VP. Well, I don't think she's going to be our next VP. At least I sincerely pray not. But isn't that interesting that it is George Soros' son that vetted her and said to his father that, yeah, I think she should be the pick, and he agreed. Wow. So what is he? I mean, it's bad enough that he is, interfering in all the DAs. There, he wants to get liberal DAs, elected so that, he can get his agenda through. And now he's picking our VP. Yeah. Well, he probably wanted to pick our president back in 2016 because we know he backed Hillary. Why? I don't know. I guess because Hillary will do anything for money and she'll do the bidding of whoever. As long as she gets paid and she's in power, then she's all right. Even though she's not really in power and never was, she always had other people pulling the strings behind her. But as long as she can maintain the appearance of being in charge and have money, she's fine with all that. So yeah, Soros wanted Clinton in, but Surprise! They never thought she would lose. And here he is already having a hand in picking the VP, because we know that the VP is not going to be VP for long, because if you think Biden can hold this country together, you are sorely mistaken. All right, so this from Southern Girl. Car in front of me had a bumper sticker on it. Pray for Nancy Pelosi. Psalm 109, verse 8. When I got home, I opened my Bible and read it and started laughing. Psalm 109, verse 8. Let her days be few and brief. Let others step forward to replace her. Wow, that is her psalm. Absolutely. And I think we should pray it daily. Yeah, let her days be few and brief, and let others step forward to replace her. Absolutely. It would probably only take a half a person to replace her, because she doesn't do much work anyway. I mean, look at her district. It's a mess. And so is she. All right, and I loved this, so I had to, inject a little humor. It's good for us. Joe Biden's mind is like a web browser. 19 tabs are open, 17 are frozen, and he has no idea where the music is coming from. Well, that just about sums it up, doesn't it? Yes, I think that's a very good analogy. Now, let us continue on and look at this. This is Jihad Watch. And Biden vows to return U.S. to Iran nuclear deal. Well, isn't that special? The Obama-Biden-Iranian nuclear deal was a disaster. All it did was delay Iran's nuclear program and even provided for Iran to inspect its own sites under certain circumstances. The Iranian mullahs were screaming death to America even as the nuclear deal was being concluded. The mullahs have been pushing for war with the United States for decades, and the nuclear deal was no departure from this imperative. Get the details about how bad the nuke deal was in The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran. We're not going to look at that right now. And Biden's presidency, or rather the presidency of the oligarchy that is popping us up, would return us to that deal. Remember that old joke, the one with the punchline? Coffee breaks over, back on your heads. That's what a Biden presidency would be like after 4 years of Trump. Biden said as president he would take U.S. back into nuclear deal if Iranians returned to strict compliance. IntelliNews reported that on September 15th, 2020, thanks to Henry. Joe Biden said that he is ready to walk the path of diplomacy with Tehran if Iran takes steps to show it is ready too. Outlining the Iran policy he will pursue if he defeats U.S. President Donald Trump in the November presidential election, and that's a very big if. Democrat candidate Biden, in an opinion piece for CNN, added, if Iran returns to strict compliance with the nuclear deal, the United States would rejoin the agreement as a starting point for follow-on negotiations. The bottom line is that Iran is closer to the nuclear bomb today than it was when Donald Trump took office, and Trump has no answer for that. 5 years ago, even Russia and China stood with our European allies behind an American-led approach to Iran's nuclear program, Biden said, attacking Trump for, in May 2018, unilaterally pulling the U.S. out of the nuclear deal between Iran and 6 major powers that secured concessions on and scrutiny of the Iranian nuclear development program in return for lifting the UN sanctions on Tehran. Biden said he would make an unshakable commitment to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. Are you kidding? Really? At this point, he can't even prevent getting pudding on his chin. Like, really? You really think that he's capable of negotiating with anyone? Anyway, he's going to make an unshakable commitment to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, but that Trump's Iran policy is a dangerous failure. Well, we have peace, don't we? And that there is a smart way to be tough on Iran, and there is Trump's way. Well, that's Joe Biden talking. He's been in, how long has he been in office? Is it 47 years? It's a long time. And what has he accomplished, really? No, like really. Can you name something? Just one thing. I can't either. That's sad. All right, let's go on. And let's look at this. Dem tactic. In the 60s, the KGB did some fascinating psychological experiments. They learned that if you bombard human subjects with fear messages nonstop in 2 months or less, most of the subjects are completely brainwashed to believe the false message, to the point that no amount of clear information they are shown to the contrary can change their minds. That is the Democrat tactic right now. Bombard us with fear messages nonstop, over and over and over and over again, until most people are too brainwashed to even fight against the message, and just kind of accept it. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing through their propaganda arm of the mainstream media. Okay. I think most of us are probably aware of that already, but sometimes I need to state the obvious because there's always new people coming on that are just beginning to be red-pilled, and I need to repeat some of these things because, these things to us, yeah, we just take them for granted, but people that are just coming on that are being red-pilled, not so much. They have, it takes a while to get up to speed on everything, and especially on everything, red-pilled on everything that's happening. It takes a long time. Okay, let's take a look at this now. Now, let's come down here. Watchdog identifies 50,000 double voters, 350,000 dead persons still on rolls. A watchdog group reviewed voter records. A watchdog group reviewed voter records from more than 40 states and found nearly 350,000 dead voters still on the rolls and more than 50,000 people who cast more than one ballot in the 2018 election. Now, I think that there should be something done to people that cast more than one vote. I really do. I think they should find these people and fine them. I don't know, at the very minimum, their vote shouldn't count. Many of those apparent double votes were mail ballots, the Public Interest Legal Foundation said in its report Wednesday. And if you look on Twitter and social media in general, you can see all sorts of people saying, look, I've got, 3 ballots here, and the people are dead or they've moved away or whatever. And you think that people aren't filling in those ballots and sending them in? Because I think they are, especially diehard leftists. Of course they are. We know they are, because every election, a whole lot of dead people vote. How do they do that? Really? I'm not sure why, but when you die, you vote. It doesn't matter what you were in your life. I mean, once you die, you always vote Democrat. Always. I've never seen dead people voting Republican. Have you? No, they always vote Democrat. And I've always wondered, how are they voting? How are they doing that? It's a miracle. Anyway, PILF said it used voter history files and matched them up against other information, such as Social Security's death index. The organization said it found nearly 8,000 people who were credited with voting in 2018 on a date after they were listed as deceased. North Carolina had the highest rate of the states reviewed, the study said. As for double voting, PILF said about 38,000 people voted twice from the same address in the 2018 general election. Another 5,500 people voted twice from different addresses in the same state, and more than 8,000 others were credited with voting in 2 different states. But the Democrats say, oh, no, there's no election fraud. No, we don't believe it. It's a lie. It's a lie by the Republicans. Right. Sure. One Pennsylvania voter appeared in the voter registration file 7 times, all with the same address, PILF says. A Detroit voter who died in the last century was still active on the city's rolls. Wow, that's something. When voters have confidence in the system, they are more likely to participate. Fixing errors, duplications, and obsolete registrations will increase confidence in the voting system and, we hope, clear the last barrier to participation. Doubt in the integrity of the process, wrote J. Christian Adams, president of the foundation. He said the Pennsylvania county, with the voter registered 7 times, has agreed to fix things. Well, I should hope so. Detroit, meanwhile, began to track down records to try to clean its voter rolls, Pilf said. Mr. Adams was part of President Trump's ill-fated Voter Integrity Commission, which met resistance from states and was canceled amid a myriad of court challenges. Mr. Adams said Pilf's goal in the new report was to try to do some of the work the commission was supposed to do in reviewing state records. Some states resisted turning over records, and they are battling Pilf in the courts. But the records from 42 states were gathered. It's possible that election officials bungled voter history files, Pilf said, but said that would still suggest a different major problem for voting systems as the country heads towards the 2020 election. Pilf said the numbers are actually better than in 2012, when the Pew Charitable Trust found millions of dead people on the rolls and millions more double registered. Yeah. So, there you go. And let's come back now, because there's more. There's always more. Now, let's look at this bit of insanity for San Francisco mayor. San Francisco mayor London Breed will give black women $1,000 a month if they get pregnant. Okay. Partially taxpayer-funded program provides an unconditional monthly income supplement of $1,000 to Black and Pacific Island women. So if you're white and you get pregnant, you're out of luck. Or Hispanic, or anything else. Just black. Just black. On Monday, the San Francisco mayor's office announced the launch of a government program called the Abundant Birth Project, which will give $1,000 per month cash payouts to Black and Pacific Islander women for becoming pregnant and having children. Well, if they just stopped aborting the babies, they'd have lots of Black babies. More than enough. I mean, really. And all the people that wanted to adopt children would have children to adopt if they would stop. I don't know how many millions of children have been slaughtered, and most are African American, which is awful. Anyway, providing guaranteed income to mothers during pregnancy is an innovative and equitable approach that will ease some of the financial stress that all too often keeps women from being able to put their health first, Mayor Breed said. So, all right. Then why doesn't it apply to white people? Why only Black women? Because I think that is racist. Because it is. It is. Dr. Z. Malawa of the San Francisco Department of Public Health echoed this sentiment, claiming providing direct unconditional cash aid is a restorative step that not only demonstrates trust in women to make the right choices for themselves and their families, but could also decrease the underlying stress of financial insecurity that may be contributing to the high rates of premature birth in these communities. It is exciting to be in a city that not only calls out racism as a problem, but also takes steps to heal the wounds left by decades of injustice and anti-Black sentiment. So, neither women provided further explanation as to how not receiving $1,000 a month in free taxpayer cash increases rates of premature birth. The press release went on to mention various critical race theory talking points such as structural racism and racial justice, racial equity, and a racial wealth gap. Among the funders of the pregnancy payoff public-private partnership are Jack Dorsey's Small Start Foundation, Expecting Justice, and the Hellman Foundation. So there you are. If you get pregnant, you are a woman who gets pregnant in San Francisco, you'll get an extra $1,000 a month. Now, I could see this turning into women just having babies for the extra money, because if they have another baby, they'll get $2,000 and another $3,000. Pretty soon, they're living not too bad. So I don't know about what you think. I'd love to know what you think about this. I know what I think about this, and I think you can probably guess. I think it's racist. I really do. So, and that won't make me very popular, but, well, got to speak the truth. All right, and this, breaking, city of Madrid, Spain, to go back on lockdown will affect 850,000 people. And the governments of Ontario and Quebec are also, in Canada, are also talking about going back on lockdown. And I had heard this several weeks ago that they were planning this, and then, oh, just like clockwork, ta-da, in the news today, oh, COVID is just skyrocketing in Ontario and Quebec. Yeah, so they're planning to lock us down again, apparently. So let's look at this. More for the comedy than anything, but, you know, the Portland peaceful protesters really have a thing for fashion, as you can see. I wanted to show you some of these, and remember when I brought to you the fact that a lot of these Antifa and Black Lives Matter people were invoking demons and inviting demons into their bodies and so forth? Well, you can see the results of that. Yeah, your life never improves after you invite a demon in. I'm just putting that out there. Never improves. All right, now let's take a look at these pictures. Here is, I mean, look at this guy. That's scary that somebody would do that to their face. And I mean, even the tattoos they have, they're not even, it's crazy. It's crazy. And you know, some of these people might be, well, maybe not. I was going to say some of these people, if they clean themselves up a bit, might actually look normal, but no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, yeah, there they are. Bunch of winners. Yeah. All right, let's go back now. And let's look at this. It wouldn't be a night if I didn't cover a Biden gaffe. All right, now, I like this guy. I do. I don't know who he is, but I like him. Says, keep talking, Joe. Now, gotta make it bigger for my tiny phone people. Love you guys, not making fun of you. Anybody that's good enough to watch me on a tiny phone, I've got nothing but respect for them. So, let's play this.
Okay, Joe, answer these questions and then get off stage.
Every single thing, including having a postmaster general who still doesn't know who dismantled those machines, who ordered to picking up those places to mail your ballots. I mean, it's a
mailbox, Joe. It's a mailbox.
Now, this guy, apparently, his name is Ricky Taylor, but I should look him up because I think he's funny. And I love the Hodgson twins. They are hysterical as well, if you ever had a chance to listen to them. All right, now, let's go back and continue on. Let's look at this. We covered this yesterday about Newt Gingrich, and he mentioned Soros, and, well, things didn't go so well after that because they pretty much pulled the plug on him. And, yeah, well, let me see here. I'm trying to find, my computer's overheating, and I did have a book here, but I don't know where it went. All right, to put under the computer. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. Fox News host Harris Faulkner addressed an awkward moment on Wednesday when former House Speaker Newt Gingrich correctly pointed out that billionaire George Soros has influenced local races for district attorneys, around the country, who have in turn been soft on leftist criminals causing violence and mayhem throughout the country. Look, the number one problem in most of these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up, said Gingrich, adding, just yesterday they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros money, he added, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the streets. Well, he's right. He's 100% right. That's exactly what's happening. Gingrich was then shut down after commentator Melissa Francis interjected, "I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this. He paid for it," shot back Gingrich, meaning, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars? "No, he didn't," insisted Marie Harf, another panelist, adding, "I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation." "Okay, so it's verboten," Gingrich replied. Awkward silence ensued. And we don't have to watch this because we've watched this already. It's quite evident that Fox was extremely uncomfortable with him even mentioning this because they'd rather us believe lies. But you know what? A lot of us are awake to what is happening, and we know very well truth when we hear it. And Newt Gingrich was speaking the truth, the pure, unadulterated truth. On Thursday, host Harris Faulkner addressed the incident, saying, "So we had a little incident on the show yesterday that was not smooth. And while I was leading that segment, we had interruptions, and I sat quietly while all of that played out. Also not ideal. Our guest, former Speaker House Newt Gingrich, who is beloved and needed to be allowed to speak with the openness and respect that this show is all about, was interrupted." Faulkner continued, Do we debate with fire here? Yes, but we must also give each other space to express ourselves. As the only original member of this 6-year-old amazing daytime ride known as Outnumbered, I especially want to rock and roll with every voice and perspective at the table. Faulkner ended with, "We don't censor on this show." That's not true. They did censor. They very much censored what was said on that show. So that's a lie. Now, I happen to like her, but that is a lie. Fox anchor Harris Faulkner apologized for the hosts interrupting Newt Gingrich's Soros rant yesterday. "We had interruptions and I sat while all of that played out. Not ideal. Gingrich is beloved and need to be allowed to speak. We don't censor on this show." But apparently they do. Meanwhile, Gingrich was right. As we reported in 2016, Soros openly expressed his intention to reshape the American justice system by pouring funds into powerful district attorney races. As we noted at the time, so far, Soros has funneled $3 million into 7 local DA races over the past year, but his support is expected to intensify in the next few years thanks to longer-term planning and candidate recruitment. In general, Soros looks to fund progressive DAs running on platforms to reduce racial disparity in sentencing and support prison diversion programs for drug offenders instead of trials that could result in jail time. So why is it verboten to discuss? And we have seen this. We looked at this yesterday. Disgraceful that Harris Faulkner allowed the tart Marie Harf to shut down Newt's comments. Soros is seeking to overthrow our form of government and bring socialism to the U.S. Is Harris hushed because the bulk of Soros' buys are black radicals? Well, that could be. I don't know. But he was most certainly censored. So to say that we don't censor, that is patently false. So anyway, let's go back and see what else we have. And let's look at this. Look at this. This by Josh Kaplan, Politico, Twitter's public policy director to join Biden transition team. And this person asks, how is this not election interference? Well, I'd like to know that as well. How is it not? I'd like to know, wouldn't you? I don't understand it. There's all these, things against election interference, and yet that's what's happening in our elections. They're being tampered with. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, now let's take a look at this. I'm kind of looking around here for something to put under I used to have, hang on here. Well, I can't reach it on that direction. Let's see, here we go. All right, I was just trying to look for something to put under my computer to keep it from overheating because, well, It's all fun and games until somebody loses a computer. All right, there we go. There, it can rest and breathe now. It likes to breathe. Let me make sure that everything's okay here. We are recording and everything's fine. All right, yeah, we're okay. Now let's go on. Okay. Now, hang on here. Okay, let's get to this. Sorry for the interruption. Now back to the regularly scheduled. All right, Trump approval of pardon offer to Assange in exchange for source of DNC leaks, Jen Robinson says. Now, this is from today, so this is fresh news. It has been alleged by members of the Democratic Party and elements of the press that the source of the DNC leaks published by WikiLeaks is linked to the Russian state, a position that has been consistently denied by both Julian Assange and the Russian state. And you know why it's been denied? Because it's false. But, you know, the Democrats are still going to cling to that. U.S. President Donald Trump was aware of and had approved of U.S. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher and Mr. Charles Johnson meeting with Julian Assange in order to secure the source of the DNC leaks in exchange for some form of pardon, assurance, or agreement, which would both benefit President Trump politically and prevent a U.S. indictment against an extradition of Mr. Assange, the Old Bailey heard on Friday. So let's look at this. Defense witness, I can't pronounce that name, Rohrabacher, proposed a win-win situation. Assange can get on with his life, a pardon in exchange for information about the source, information from Mr. Assange about the source of the DNC leaks would be of value to Mr. Trump. Of course, because you know what he would tell them? He would say, no, Russia had nothing to do with it. It was handed to me on a flash disk by Seth Rich, who was subsequently murdered. That's what he'd say. And that does benefit Trump. It benefits him a lot because it counters the lies of the DNC. And you know, it was Donna Brazil and the mayor of Washington D.C. Like, I was always under the impression that Seth Rich died there on the street. He did not. He was alive. He was taken to the hospital. He subsequently died at the hospital. And who was at the hospital? There was the mayor of D.C., Muriel Browser, or is it Bowser? Anyway, and Donna Brazil. And those two are married. They were both there at the hospital the night he was there. Why? I'd like to know, wouldn't you? And maybe if Julian Assange gave us the truth, which he surely knows, and he has surely said over and over, it had nothing to do with Russia. So has President Trump. Of course, the Democrats just keep running with that story, whether it's true or not. But yeah, we would find out what really happened, that it was handed. Nobody hacked the DNC. It was Seth Rich who worked there. He put it on a flash drive. He gave it to Julian Assange, and he was later subsequently murdered for that. Now, whether Donna Brazil and Muriel Bowser had anything to do with it, I think they did, personally, because what were they doing at the hospital that night? How did they know he had been shot? You know, really. And he wasn't high up in the DNC, so why were they there? I just find that a little bit curious, very curious. Anyway, let's go back to this. The assertions were read into open court on behalf of Barrister Jennifer Robinson, who was present at the meeting in the Ecuadorian embassy on the 15th of August 2017. This was before any indictment was issued against the WikiLeaks publisher. The U.S. government's representative told the court that they do not dispute the offer was made during the meeting, but do appear that they will contest the truthfulness of the offer itself. Ms. Robinson's statement notes that Mr. Rohrabacher and Mr. Johnson told Ms. Robinson and Mr. Assange that they wanted to resolve the ongoing speculation of Russian involvement in the Democrat National Convention and that it was damaging to U.S.-Russia relations and reviving old Cold War politics. Well, it is. And do the Democrats care? No, because they are the ones that fomented it. Absolutely they are. Ms. Robinson has represented Mr. Assange on numerous matters since 2010, both as a solicitor and a barrister. And let me see here. Ms. Robinson states that the congressman made clear that the source of the DNC leaks would be of interest value and interest to the president. Mr. Robichaud apparently described what would be a win-win situation for Mr. Assange to leave the embassy and get on with his life. Ms. Robinson also notes that Mr. Robichaud said that he would then return and see what would be done to prevent Mr. Assange indictment and extradition. Mr. Assange did not provide the identity of any source, the statement said. Mr. Assange faces up to 175 years in prison if he's convicted on all charges in the U.S. The charges almost entirely relate to his role in publishing the Iraq and Afghanistan war logs, Guantanamo Bay detainee files, and the diplomatic cables which revealed war crimes and other criminality and abuse committed by the U.S. government and U.S.-backed sources. So, now, and you know, they're claiming that Trump is aware and approved of a pardon offer. I don't know. That's what his defense team is saying. It would not surprise me in the least if, you know, if that was offered to him. It would help us all, actually, because we would, they'd be able to finally put paid to all those Democrat fabrications, is what they are. All right, let's go back now and see what else. Now, this says great video, so it must be, because why would I lie? All right. All right, says this is an awesome video, sums up Joe's terms in office. Sums up Joe's term in office if he gets elected. Buyer beware if you buy into what he's selling. Hashtag no Joe. I like that hashtag. Let me make this bigger for my tiny phone people.
Are you sick and tired of your calm, peaceful life? Are you sleeping too well at night? Is your city too safe? Well, not anymore. Introducing Democrats. Politicians so incompetent, they'll fill your neighborhood with riots, looting, rampant violence, and even homelessness. The secret is a special blend of corruption and good old-fashioned stupidity. No more pesky law and order. When Democrats are in charge, nobody's safe. Simply vote for Democrats, sit back, and watch your neighborhood burn to the ground. But wait, vote for Democrats now, and they'll include rolling blackouts, election fraud, cancel culture, taxes, and more taxes. Democrats, bringing chaos right to your front door. Are you sick and tired of your calm?
All right, and it's starting over now.
Are you
So
sleeping too well at night?
I thought this was an awesome, very, very well done, and it gets the point across. So, actually, I think I'll retweet this right while I'm here. Okay, and let's go back now, and let's look at this. In 2016, George Soros says that Trump was doing the work of ISIS. Today, ISIS is defeated under Trump's leadership. So, yeah, he must have done a really poor job, I guess, you know, if he was doing the work of ISIS, because ISIS is really a non-entity now. But anyway, let's listen to this.
Are you by the popularity of Donald Trump?
Well, Donald Trump is doing the work of ISIS. ISIS and before that Al-Qaeda, by fear-mongering, Donald Trump and the others, coups and so on, are doing the work of ISIS.
This is Liberation Day in Iraq. Victory flags are being raised after the Prime Minister announced the final defeat of ISIS.
So there's ISIS, and that's what we have right now. As of last night, that's what we have right now. You guys are the aftermath. Congratulations. Over 9
tonight, U.S.-backed Syrian forces say they have seized control of the last popular territory held by the Islamic State in Syria.
We killed ISIS leader al-Baghdadi.
Yeah, I like that one too. And I thought you would as well. So let's go back. And this from Ted Cruz. PBS leftist reporter lionizes the New York Times 1619 project as a national treasure, despite it being an explicit propaganda effort designed to reframe American history. It's been repeatedly debunked by serious historians based on lies, so PBS tells us we should be grateful. Now, this by Yamishi Alcindor. An important note that as President Trump gears up to attack the 1619 project, Hannah Jones is a national treasure who has put in context how America came to be, the black enslaved people it exploited, and the way forward. We should all be grateful for the 1619 project. Well, we're not, because it's lies. It's lies. So I am so glad that President Trump is taking the steps to correct this. And let's look at this. I'm sorry, this made me laugh. It really does make me laugh because these guys, these leftists are something else. Anarchists cancel White House siege right after Bill Barr leaked he'd be charging rioters with sedition. Well, isn't that something? Trump and Barr scared the crap out of these communists. And yes, he did, because they've canceled the siege. Well, so much for that. Well, so much for the big 50-day siege of the White House by anarchist groups. It was supposed to start today, but it got canceled right after AG Barr leaked out that he'd be charging rioters with sedition. Yeah. I guess they don't want to go to federal prison for a fun 22 years, huh? The announcement came from various leaders of the group, which you may remember from back in the days as Occupy Wall Street. This one here claims it was canceled after intensive talks because Trump supporters and white nationalists were issuing death threats. Right. Yeah. And this person responds and says, intensive talks, also known as 3 turds on Zoom, eating vegan Hot Pockets and smoking weed. I've seen other cancellations due to rain. Yes, I've read that as well, that they canceled due to rain. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to lay siege on the White House as long as it's sunny outside? Buffoons! All of them. And then another corner of the group says they canceled because their First Amendment rights are under attack. I guess this excuse is the closest thing to being honest. They're afraid of being arrested and thrown in federal prison for 22 years. DC groups, part of the White House siege, are claiming their First Amendment rights to freely assemble peacefully are under attack as a reason for canceling demonstrations, when in reality, Lafayette Square Park in front of the White House has been reopened to the public today. Yeah. One thing is for sure, these people can't get a cohesive message together, but we all know the real reason they canceled. Trump and Barr scared the crap out of them. Today was supposed to be the start of the 50-day siege on the White House. Barr leaked that there would be sedition charges for violent rioters, and today there's absolutely nothing on riots or protests in D.C. And we're not hearing much about riots at all, in general. So, that took care of that. They opened up the fence to Lafayette Park. No sign of the White House siege protest planned for September 17th, though. Yeah. From Town Hall, the organizing groups behind the White House siege that is supposed to last until Election Day suffered a setback on the first day as they canceled the first event related to the protest. Minutes before the General Assembly was supposed to convene in Lafayette Square at noon, Twitter accounts announced the meeting was canceled due to the groups receiving many threats of death and violence from Trump supporters and white nationalists. Yeah, I believe that. Totally. Give me a break. But not all is lost for these hobo anarchists. Now they're doing 50 days of improv jazz. And no, I'm not kidding. You can't make this stuff up, really. The White House siege is canceled. They're doing 50 days of nonviolent improv jazz instead. You couldn't make this up. Trump scared the hell out of them. Good. The White House siege is canceled. They're doing 50 days of nonviolent improv jazz instead. You couldn't make this up. No, really, no, you couldn't. And we're also hearing they plan to feed the homeless. Let me tell you what that actually means. They put up their Cash App account and collect money to fund their seditious war. The jig is up for these communists, and so is the free violence ride that they've been enjoying, thanks to inept Democrat leadership. Oh, I could not agree more. Could not agree more. So let's go back now and let's see how we're doing for time. Well, we are at 45 minutes, and so we still have a ways to go. We can cover more. Woohoo! I know you're saying woohoo, or else you're saying just shut up already. I don't know, one or the other. Let's look at this. How can you vote for this gibberish? What is he saying? CNN and his handlers must have been sweating bullets. Well, yeah. Let's make this.
If any of that is being, they in fact would be denied that opportunity. I would also make it clear that when you, in fact, it's got to be, if any of that is being purchased by any government agency, that we will not purchase anything that is not made in America, including the downrivers line of what has to be done, all the parts. You can't do what he's doing now. You can't do where he's given a tax break to companies that in fact go overseas, and then import the product back into the United States of America, even though their headquarters is here. The chain, though, you go overseas and they bring it back in cheaper than you being able to produce it. And so I'm going to make sure that it's made in America. I believe, and I mean that. We've been talking about this policy for 100 years. We've never fully done it. We can and must do it now.
Okay. All right. I don't think I need to comment on that. And let's look at this. I like it when these criminals get charged. I like it a lot. Black Lives Matter rioter charged by feds for setting Portland police building on fire. That's good news. Portland man is accused by federal authorities of trying to set the Portland Police Bureau. How do I get this away? Well, I guess there's no way to get rid of it. A Portland man is accused by federal authorities of trying to set the Portland Police Bureau's North Precinct on fire at a violent Black Lives Matter Antifa protest in June. Now, this is from today, hot and fresh, just like Krispy Kreme donut sign. A Portland man is accused by federal authorities of trying to set the Portland Police Bureau North Precinct on fire. GAFFES Streeter Hillerich, 22, has been charged with 2 felony counts of using fire to maliciously damage and attempt to damage a city-owned building and multiple private businesses. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Oregon announced its decision to prosecute on Wednesday. Well, that's good news. And here, the U.S. Attorney Oregon said the Portland man has been charged with arson after pushing a burning dumpster against the Portland Police North Precinct building on June 26, 2020, and there he is committing the crime. So he deserves to be charged. In the early hours of June 26, when rioters launched fireworks at law enforcement, Streeter Hillerich was identified in video footage allegedly setting a large-sized dumpster on fire near the police station's northwest exterior corner. The trash receptacle was pushed against the plywood that was affixed to the building. Officers used fire extinguishers before firefighters arrived. The flames damaged the building. There were 15 police personnel and 4 detained individuals inside the police station at the time. A video recording by a civilian led investigators to name Streeter Hillerich as a suspect in the case. On July 8th, PBB officers and Portland Fire and Rescue Fire Investigation Unit arrested Streeter Hilrich in relation to the June 26 incident. He was charged with felony arson in the first degree and felony riot. He was also charged with felony riot, unlawful use of a weapon, menacing, and failure to perform the duties of a driver in relation to a June 8th demonstration where riders blocked Interstate 84. The suspect was later released. Streeter Hilrich was arrested this week by the U.S. Marshal Service in Vancouver, Washington, following a federal investigation involving the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives and the FBI. According to the affidavit written by the ATF special agent, Streeter Hilrich told her that other individuals present at the fire were anarchists and some were leaders with the Rose City Justice organization. Rose City Justice is one of the new groups in Portland that organizes Black Lives Matter themed protests. He made his first appearance in federal court on Wednesday before a U.S. magistrate judge. He was ordered released pending further court proceedings. Arson is punishable by up to 20 years in prison with a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. Woo! Streeter Hilrich's indictment is scheduled for August 2nd. His LinkedIn showed his work history involving short-term positions at Taco Bell and other fast food restaurants. This year isn't the first time he's had run-ins with the law. In 2019, Streeter Hilrich was convicted of third-degree felony assault. He was on probation at the time of both recent offenses and is scheduled for a probation violation hearing. So his brother is also well known to law enforcement in Portland. In 2018, Gary Wayne Streeter Hilrich was slapped with a 20-year sentence for raping, kidnapping, abusing, and robbing a random woman he followed off a bus while he was already on supervised release from a previous sex crime. Wow. So this is good. I mean, it's always encouraging when these people are being caught and prosecuted because, you know, it sends a message to the others as well. And I'm wondering if that is why some of this rioting has stopped and quieted down, because now they are getting serious on prosecuting these people. It's not so much fun when you land up in jail, is it? All right, and let's look at this. Bill O'Reilly comes out swinging against Fox News after they silenced Newt Gingrich. Bill O'Reilly, hang on here. Bill O'Reilly basically accused the woman on Outnumbered of not understanding facts about Soros, but perhaps it was more sinister than that. Yeah, I'm thinking it probably was. I think they know very well what Soros is doing. And if not, they have no business in journalism. None whatsoever. There are no real journalists on TV anymore. They're just mouthpieces and parrots for whoever's pulling the strings. A couple days ago, Newt Gingrich appeared on Fox News where he discussed the riots and George Soros' connection to them by way of funding many progressive DA campaigns throughout the country. This is something that we've reported on for quite some time. Soros had been actively funneling large sums of money to progressive DA candidates in liberal cities. That's no surprise to anyone. I mean, I think we're all aware of that. Now, many of those liberal DAs are at the center of Black Lives Matter riot cases, like the armed couple in St. Louis who were charged with felonies by a Soros-funded DA. When Newt began talking about this, he was instantly silenced by a couple of women on the show who did not want anyone to speak about George Soros. The entire exchange became very awkward and infuriated viewers. Here's what happened. Well, we already are quite aware of what happened, so I won't stop there. Former news powerhouse Bill O'Reilly takes issue with what went down on his old cable news network. O'Reilly basically suggests that the woman on Outnumbered may not have known the facts behind Soros' meddling in DA races around the country, but I don't believe that. I think there was much more sinister reason for this obnoxious censoring. You can watch the video below. Bill O'Reilly on Fox News, awkward George Soros moment. Soros is using his billions of dollars to undermine the justice system in the United States, and you can't discuss that. Now, let's listen to this, as long as it's not too long, and it's not.
Fox News yesterday with Newt Gingrich that got a lot of press. I'm not going to comment on the Fox News personnel. I'm going to tell you the truth.
because Speaker Gingrich knows the truth. So George Soros has donated $17 million to county races to get far-left progressives into the district attorney's office. That is a fact, right? 17 million. Now, these are county races. So that's an enormous amount of money. So Gingrich is absolutely correct. Absolutely right. Now, none of the people on the panel seem to understand what Gingrich is talking about. I think that's fair assessment. But the rule is, if you invoke the name George Soros, then you're anti-Semitic, because Soros is Jewish. He's a secular Jew. He's not practicing. Not that it matters. So if you say the name George Soros, you are anti-Semitic. That's what the ladies were responding. Oh, we don't need to mention George Soros. We don't want to be accused of being anti-Semitic. So why are they buying into that? This is a factual story. George Soros is using his billions of dollars to undermine the justice system in the United States, in my opinion, and in Newt Gingrich's. And we have our stats to back it up. And we can't discuss that. So, really, really wrong.
Well, that is true, and I think it's well stated by Bill O'Reilly. Personally, I think Fox News has become controlled opposition. Sure, they have a few shows that are very far right, but but Fox News has changed significantly since Rupert Murdoch turned control of the media empire over to his son. And let's not forget, globalist and Trump hater Paul Ryan is now on the board. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if George Soros wasn't helping to fund Fox News in some way. That's exactly what I thought, and that wouldn't surprise me either, not in the least. So let's come down here. Let's take a look at this. If Biden wins, this is Donald J. Trump. If Biden wins, China wins. If Biden wins, the mob wins. If Biden wins, the rioters, anarchists, arsonists, and flag burners win. I am running for re-election to bring jobs and factories back to Wisconsin, to put violent criminals behind bars, and to ensure the future belongs to... that's been cut off, and I didn't get the next tweet, but I'm sure that the future belongs to America. I don't know. But anyway, and this is him in front of Air Force One, and look at all the people there. Heck of a lot more of them turn out for Joe Biden. Just saying. Just saying. All right. Let me see here. I think we have time for... Well, I think we do. I'm going to do this, and then I've got a feel-good story to end on, I should say. Let's take a look at this. This is pretty out there, but not for Nancy. Speaker Pelosi slips up on live TV. Nancy goes from serious to crying to serious again in seconds. Yeah, that's because maybe she's acting. Nancy Pelosi has a lot of bad moments lately, but this one might be the worst. She is used to blaming everything on Trump. Now she is calling him a science denier, so she can blame him for fires, hurricanes, pandemics, pretty much anything. But watch how she turns on the waterworks for just 5 seconds and turns them off again. Yeah. Let's take a look at this.
Climate crisis, which is causing these, has an impact, has influenced what is happening in California and the whole West, as well as the storms that are battering the Gulf Coast. This is a reality. So, and when it comes to the coronavirus, they have contempt for science. That's why almost 200,000 people who will lose their lives by the end of this week. 200,000 people. And that's why there is contempt for science as to what the climate crisis is.
Now, that's just about the most fake thing I've ever seen, and I think you would have to agree. Let's see this again.
battering the Gulf Coast. This is a reality. So, and when it comes to the coronavirus, they have contempt for science. That's why almost 200,000 people who will lose their lives by the end of this week. 200,000 people. And that's why there is contempt for science as to what the climate crisis is.
Well, there, that was just so sincere of her. When it's convenient for her, Pelosi can get super emotional. Watch how she suddenly got so choked up, lamenting the 200,000 people who will die of COVID. Then, just as quickly, she recovers to bang the denying science drum. Looks like Pelosi's got nothing left but empty displays of emotion. Remember when Trump was battling the coronavirus back in January and February? Pelosi was urging people to travel and visit her city. When Trump closed the border to China and ordered government agencies to investigate COVID, Pelosi was ignoring as she pushed for the impeachment trial. Sorry, Nancy, but all the tears in the world won't convince us that you really care about those COVID deaths. If she really cared, why hasn't she stalled more relief payments to Americans? I think it should say, why has she stalled relief payments to Americans? That wasn't even the end of the emotional roller coaster Pelosi that day. Watch this hilarious exchange between Jim Cramer and the speaker. Cramer really got her this time. Yeah, I liked this one. So let's play this.
You and I think Secretary Mnuchin, I mean, what deal can we have at Crazy Nancy? I'm sorry, that was the president.
Sorry.
I have such reverence for the office. I mean, what deal can we have at Crazy Nancy? I'm sorry, that was the president. I have such reverence for the office. I would never use that term, but it is hard.
But you just did. But you just did.
You know that.
Oh my gosh. So, whoa, you can see Nancy doing everything in her power from exploding after Cramer called her Crazy Nancy. He claimed to be just quoting the president, but it's clear she wasn't buying it. Cramer also said that he respects the office of the speaker, but stopped short of saying he respected her. Considering what this woman has done since becoming speaker, it's hard to believe anyone would respect her anymore. She tore up the State of the Union address, impeached the president over a phone call, delayed COVID relief, and is now blaming Trump for everything. Key takeaways: Nancy Pelosi made a show of emotion while criticizing President Trump. She became choked up when contemplating COVID victims, then quickly pivoted back to attacking. She later nearly lost it when Jim Cramer called her Crazy Nancy. So there you go. And let's come back down here, and we are wrapping up now. I do have, I have, actually, there's a whole lot more I have, but I'm going to actually end with this, and the rest we will pick up tomorrow with tomorrow's news, because Saturday is generally not so big of a news day. So maybe I will bring the rest of this stuff to you tomorrow, along with anything else that's in the news. And let's take a look at this. This is truly a feel-good story. And it's not about an animal this time. All right. Farmers finish neighbor's harvest after heart attack. Now, I just found this very, very heartwarming. Neighbors, friends, and family brought 11 combines, 6 grain carts, and 15 semis to get Ungem's Durham wheat and canola in the bin. Divine County, North Dakota, around 60 farmers in Divine County put their own harvesting on hold to cut 1,000 acres for a neighbor who suffered a heart attack after his combine caught fire last week. Lane Ungem was in the middle of harvesting when he went into cardiac arrest near Crosby, North Dakota. Neighbors, friends, and family brought 11 combines, 6 grain carts, and 15 semis to get his Durham wheat and canola in the bin. When they heard about Ungem's situation last week, they immediately started coordinating an effort to help him out. I talked to a couple of farmers, got their equipment, and then other people just started calling, and we had equipment offered from all over the place in the county and their workers to go with it, said family friend Jenna Bind. Those who assisted said letting the Ungem's crop go unharvested would have been a big loss for the family, and helping out was just common sense. Well, helping out is not common sense for everyone. So what they did was heroic, I think. Everyone knows the Ungems, and they're good people and good in the community, and just kind of the farming way of life too. You help your neighbor out when they need it and don't expect anything in return, added Bind. Lane Ungem was flown to Minot, where he is in stable condition, but his family says he has a long road of recovery ahead. It only took 7 hours for the farmers to harvest the Ungem's 1,000 acres of crops over the weekend. Now, I don't know about you, but that gives me goosebumps, because that's the way it used to be in the old days. And of course, both my grandparents were dairy farmers, so I know in the community where I grew up, people helped one another, and when somebody was down and out, they helped one another get the crops in and so forth. So this is just brings back very, very fond memories to me, and makes me feel good that there are still people out there. I think this is wonderful, because losing 1,000 acres of crops would be a monumental loss. So I just think this is a wonderful, wonderful story. And this is from, where is this? KWTX in Texas, apparently, had this story. So farmers finish neighbor's harvest after heart attack. And look at them all, and the combines and everything. 1,000 acres is a lot of land. A lot of land. Both my grandparents had 100 acres, and that seemed very big when I was a child traversing it. But 1,000 acres, that's a lot of land and a lot of crops. So kudos to all those people that did that. I think that is wonderful, and that's how it should be. Neighbors helping neighbors. That's the American way. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight, and I hope you are all I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and please keep seeking the truth. And I'd really love it if you came back here and sought the truth with me. All right, guys. Good night. I'll see you in the next video.